Uh-huh. Well then, I think we have to get him managed. Find out what's going on down there. Exactly.
Mr. Hunter.
No, I couldn't agree more. Sooner than later, absolutely. All right, I appreciate it. Excuse me. Nigel, can you call Paul Christensen at the Colombian office and tell him like this file records back here? And as soon as I'm done with this meeting, get Donald Lee on the phone. Thank you. Yes, Frank?
Well, I'm not going to take a lot of your time, or my time for that matter. To be honest, I have quite a full morning ahead of me, as I'm sure you do, so I'll be very brief about this.
All right.
Well, as you know, I've made a very long-term commitment to this company, and I'd like to contribute as much as I can.
Oh, well, Frank, as a matter of fact, we're very happy with your performance, and we're certainly looking to extending your opportunities.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So, is there a problem?
Well, I wouldn't consider it a problem. It's just something that I want you to be aware of so I can continue here without spending any unnecessary energy on this particular issue. My primary goal really is to eliminate any obstacles to my own efficiency level.
That sounds fine to me.
And again, this is not something that needs to take up a lot of your time or be a concern or whatever, but I happen to be gay, for whatever that's worth. Basically, I just wanted you to be aware of that, so I won't be concerned about you finding out from another source.
I see. Well, I don't have any opinion on this particular issue, one way or the other.
Well, that's fine.
In any case, these things exist. As I see it, what you do in the privacy of your home is your business. I certainly respect that.
Thank you. Normally, I would not brought this to your attention, because I believe that the work is primary, but certain things have become rather problematic for me. And like I said, in order for me to maintain my own efficiency level, I'm going to let certain people in the office know about me. And I didn't want the information reaching you without my talking to you first.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that's really all I needed to say.
Alright. So, can I ask you why you found the need for discussion?
Well, you see, it's the whole effort of secrecy that's become rather burdensome.
I see.
For instance, my secretary who handles all my personal calls, she's been talking to my companion, to Joe, for 6 years now, and she still thinks that Joe is my roommate. Frankly, I'm too old to have roommates.
Maybe you could tell your secretary that Joe isn't your roommate, but a very good friend.
But my secretary already knows that Joe's listening to me.
Oh, I see. That would still make us expect.
I think the whole point is that my secretary has probably guessed by now who Joe is, and there's no point in lying about our relationship.
Well, if you feel she knows, why is there a need to discuss it with her?
Because there's a certain discomfort when things are left unsaid. Well, you see, it's like, well, for instance, what if you didn't tell your secretary that your wife was your wife? What if you had to make up some story that your wife was your sister who was sharing the house with you until both of you could afford to live on your own?
Uh-huh.
And your secretary knew that she was your wife, but she still treated her like she was your sister.
Well, in fact, when my secretary does speak to my sister, she treats her with as much courtesy as she does my wife. I expect her to treat everyone with courtesy.
Well, it's not really about courtesy. That was a bad example. My secretary is very polite. I just think we wasted a lot of time dancing around the subject.
No, I can understand that.
My relationship with Joe has put a very big strain between us. We've been together for 8 years now. We own a house together. Joe's a successful marketing executive. He doesn't really appreciate when my secretary says, "Fred, your roommate is on the line."
That's something you can correct with your secretary. You know, once my secretary referred to my wife as the missus. I don't know why she did that, but I found it very inappropriate. I told her to either refer to my wife as Mrs. Hunter or my wife. So maybe you could talk to your secretary and tell her not to refer Joe as your roommate, but as Joe himself, or maybe by the last name, which I find is always more respectful.
Yes, but I still think I should discuss with my secretary who exactly Joe is.
Not necessarily. You're just simply not talking about the particular reference.
But you see, it goes beyond that. Joe has reached a point where he doesn't want to be treated as something unmentionable anymore.
Yes, but that's your personal business. If my wife and I have any argument or problem, I leave it at home. I don't take any of my problems to my work.
No, I absolutely agree. Please understand that I'm a very private person.
I think the same thing applies with expressing affection in public. For instance, my youngest daughter and her boyfriend are physically very expressive with each other. And sometimes I find it highly inappropriate. I believe in discretion, no matter what particular bend you are. You know what it is, Frank? I think people are losing their manners. You know, when there was any type of problem, there was a protocol where we would talk things out. And I don't want to sound like a prude or anything, but when someone uses foul language with me, it puts me in the wrong frame of mind. And here's another example. My oldest daughter, who works downtown for a law firm, at lunchtime, she goes to a certain coffee shop, and there are some individuals who work behind the counter who are consistently rude to her. Not just rude, mind you, outright abusive. Turning their backs on her when she tries to talk to them, giving her evil looks. And when she tries to talk to them, she still does it. My daughter is one of the nicest girls you will ever meet. Melissa calls me in tears and says, "Dad, I just don't understand it." And frankly, neither do I. These particular individuals happen to be Hispanic. And I don't mean to sound prejudiced. In fact, I've had a lot of Hispanic people. And some of them were very fine people. But I've noticed the general hostility coming from that particular group. That's very disturbing. I just want to sit down and say, look, if you want things to change, then you need to plan and learn some manners. That kind of behavior is just plain counterproductive. Is that being racist?
Well...
Or maybe it's just being old-fashioned. I don't know, this world is going too fast for me. I wish my daughter could live in a gentler time. There's no reason for her to fear her for her life when she goes to lunch. Absolutely no reason. But my hunch is that it's perhaps different with the gays. That is the term you like to use.
Yes.
I think that as a whole, the gays are probably better educated, and I say quieter, more polite than the other groups. There's a young man who works over in accounting who's questionable, but he's sharp as a tack and works harder than anyone else over there. It'll be foolish for me to fire him. It'll just be plain bad for business.
Well, yes it would.
So, as we stand, you're talking to your secretary and you're keeping this confidential?
No, actually, I was planning on telling everybody in my division.
Huh? May I ask why?
Because it'll make things more comfortable.
For you or for them?
For everyone, I hope.
Let me make a suggestion. Let's recap this situation. You've been here for how long? 6 years?
Yes.
And you're respected, well-liked, your division is extremely productive, and from a standpoint, I would say everything is working as it should.
Well, fairly well, yes.
Well, Frank, I wouldn't say fairly well. Your department is excelling.
Oh, well, thank you.
So, if we were really to examine this situation, it would be a personal problem, not professional.
But this does affect my professional relationships.
But now you're saying that you have a personal problem that may have a negative effect on those who you work with.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Here's another example. We had a manager in a division in daytime who had an alcohol problem. Well, he never was drunk, but he had drinking habits, and it affected his home life. So finally, very quietly, he took 2 weeks off, got himself into a program, and when he came back, he was sharp as a tack and wiser. You see, he left his personal problems at home as well.
I don't think this is really the same thing.
This is what I quite don't understand. Being that your situation is related to sexual behavior, Why would you think it's appropriate to display it in the workplace?
I wouldn't be displaying any behavior.
It's not even appropriate for normal people to display their sexual feelings in the workplace.
I didn't say it was. That's not what I was going to do.
Then what exactly is it that you're trying to do?
I simply want to let people in my office know that I'm in a relationship with a man, and that's a normal part of my life.
And how exactly will that improve their work performance? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, but that was my original point.
I believe that you could have said that you were concerned with maintaining the efficiency level in your department. Isn't that what you said?
I don't think you understand my situation, Mr. Hunter. I eat lunch alone every day because I'm terrified that people will ask about my personal life. I sit with a sandwich and a cup of soup at my desk reading old news copies. People think that I'm strange. I'm starting to think that I'm strange. I don't show up to office parties. I don't show up to picnics. I don't show up to anything. I don't have drinks with clients. When I go away for a conference, after the seminars, I go straight to my room and order room service. I don't have a personality anymore. The only conversation I have that's directed to Joe is with my cat. This is not my idea of my life, Mr. Hunter.
Frank, have you ever seen the play The Rainmaker?
Excuse me?
The Rainmaker. The movie had Burt Lancaster. Have you ever seen it? You know the scene when Lizzie says to Starbuck that she always thought that she was playing, and Starbuck says, "Lizzie, that's all nonsense. It's all in your head. You can be the most beautiful person in the world if you believe it." Remember the scene?
I'm not sure where you're getting at.
Let me ask you, was there ever a time when you were attracted to women?
Excuse me?
There was never a time when you were in love with a woman or had a crush on her?
No, Mr. Hunter.
And perhaps you were left disappointed or hurt?
No, nothing like that ever occurred.
Have you sought counseling on the issue?
I've been to a psychiatrist if that's what you're asking.
Oh, you have?
But it is for a very brief time period. I only went twice.
Uh-huh. And did you discuss the possibility of having sexual feelings towards women?
Yes, I did. And there is no feelings to discuss.
So, if a woman in your office, for instance, said, "Frank, I find you very attractive. Can I take you out to dinner?" You wouldn't accept.
Why would I do that? I live with Joe.
But what I quite don't understand is that, well, when a man and a woman are together, as opposed to a woman or man and a man, they design of the man and the female body in such a way that it's physically pleasurable for those of the opposite sex to be together. In other words, experience that you have satisfying.
Mr. Hunter, if you're asking me how I do it, that is none of your business.
But don't you think, Frank, that everyone in your office will be wondering the same thing?
As I said, it's no one's business.
Bingo! And that's why you don't need to tell anyone.
Mr. Hunter, I'm about to lose my life's companion. I swear to God he's going to leave me.
Are you attracted to your secretary?
Excuse me?
I'm wondering if you were ever to look at your secretary in a romantic way. It's a natural reaction. I certainly look at mine from time to time. Not that I've ever do anything about it. I've been married to my wife for 26 years, and I've always been faithful to her. But it's a normal and healthy thing for a man to look at another woman. I was just curious to know if you did the same.
Absolutely not.
Ah, well, there you go. Perhaps you aren't attracted to men after all.
I don't think we need to take any more time on this.
I'm sorry this has been a big problem for you. I wish we could find a solution. I'll try to put my thinking cap on.
No, I'm not
Just trying to help. It's okay. Frankie, it's okay. Don't be ashamed to dream.
God help your children, God help your wife, and God help everybody you've ever came in contact with.
Nigel, I'm not ready for that call.